Used to be a Ghost favorite, but now
Too long.
White Monster for sure.
Monster, the Fantasy Red Ruby.
The Mounties GG gamer subs that they provide.
Taco Bell, absolutely.
McDonald's is so much better.
Taco Bell has to be. I've eaten too much McDonald's since it's right down the street.
McDonald's. I like the Oreo McFlurries.
I'm gonna choose Taco Bell because it gives me less stomach problems than McDonald's does.
McDonald's all the way.
There's levels to this, and Taco Bell is at the top one.
Sheets guy all the way.
I actually don't know what Wawa is, but Sheets.
I gotta say Wawa. I grew up with Wawa, and I just think the food's better.
Sheets is the best thing to grace our planet.
I'd have to go with Sheets. Definitely rough.
Injustice, no J-Naps.
High ground, probably.
Probably T-Crow.
Either Skippy or T-Crow.
Croc.
Pokemon Red for the Game Boy Color.
Webkins. That was the first video game I've ever played. Webkins. Oh my god.
League of Legends. Sadly, that was the first game. That's one of the only games that I played. I just enjoy it so much.
Mario Kart 7 on the DS.
No bully.
Probably PGE.
Some of the top man.
Definitely PGE.
Angry Ginge or somebody in that realm, like Speed and stuff, they're pretty funny.
Probably my dorm.
Definitely Birchie.
I think the pond is one of the greatest schools you can buy.
The library, it just got renovated, much nicer, much quieter.
Definitely my room.
Probably the IT area in the library.
Yes, I love snowboarding. I've been snowboarding my whole life.
Are you a snow person?
Not really, no. I don't really like the cold a whole lot.
I prefer summer.
Only for playing Snow Day in Rocket League.
No.
Yeah, I love snow.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm from upstate New York.
I love snow. I think it's so fun.
I think I would play, I don't even know. That's the only game that I play.
Probably competitive TF2.
Probably Rivals, you know.
I'd probably just play Trackmania.
I think the culture at Smash is insane. I would love to play Smash.
I'd probably play Madden.
Gotta be Mount Aloysius College, you can't beat them.
Mounties, obviously.
Mount Aloysius, of course.
Oh my gosh, this isn't the question. Mountie Esports.
I mean, gotta be the Mounties, right? The culture here is unmatched.
The Mount Aloysius esports program.
Obviously, Mount Aloysius.
You're looking at it.
Gotta be the Mounties Esports.
Cool.
You have more important things in life to think about than your internet. At BreezeLine, we propel life forward with home internet so reliable, you don't have to think about it. With a team that goes above and beyond, fiber-powered speeds up to 1 gig, and 99.9% reliability at any hour, in any room. You won't have to think about your internet again. Go to breezeline.com for internet that propels life forward.
The bomb as soon as they demac. This might be the chance they need. Clancy, the long-range shot takes him down. Quickster's got another onto IJV. All of a sudden, without support, how do Pen Manor approach this team fight? They don't. Central Buck South is able to rip another from the Health Realm. And Friendship.
Page Ogre, he's still alive. He finally falls to do. And indie music still on that rampage. Gets another form and still.
Bell Vernon, you can say that you have touched objectives here. Whoa, that is quite the MP coming out. What you really gonna get from this touch? I mean, maybe even a camp, I guess.
Yeah, it looks as though Westbound Hilltop not really concerned with that touch here, as you do have Tony going ahead with that blade, cleaning up.
Big Jiffer, of course, that earns the play of the game on Sojourn. That puts Penn Manor up in a winning position. And boy, that overclock always so deadly, but targeting Artie first, putting a hit marker on them so many times. And being able
Here at Mountain Esports, we take it to the next level. Our players have the ability to travel, compete, and even participate on the caffeine committee. Check out the Insta to see what's new with Mountain Esports today.
At the Mount, things are, well, elevated. And it's not just because we're on a mountain. The experience at a small college like Mount Aloysius is actually personal. The faculty and staff know my goals. It's a level of support you won't find at other colleges. And the Mount backs it up with career-focused partnerships and majors. As soon as I visited, it just felt like home. That's what makes this place different. Makes college elevated. Mount Aloysius College.
I'm playing most colleges that I recognize just by name, by color, just by their team name, so it's fun to play colleges that you know. That creates a decent vibe for everybody.
As soon as I walk into the arena, most of the time everyone's in there like an hour early, getting practice in. I just get loud. It's game day.
Windsor University strives for like the close-knit community thing, so it's nice when you're like, hey, I won, and everyone is also as competitive with it as you are.
After the game, we always like celebrate, check in with each other, and after winning games, it's a great feeling. If we can joke around in the intense moments and in the fun moments, like if we can carry that energy through, then it usually helps us win.
Outside of the team, you're also sitting next to the same 50-60 students every night, and it's fun just to do something cool and clutch and turn around and see 3 or 4 people watching you ready to clap you on.
We're always stoked to compete because we always know Waynesburg's going to win.
We asked 10 Mountie Esports players 10 specific questions, and these are their answers.
Watermelon Ice from Gamer Subs.
Ghost. Ghost Energy, either the cans or the pre-workout, either work.
So I used to be a Ghost favorite, but now
Too long. White Monster for sure.
Monster, the Fantasy Red Ruby.
The Mount EGG gamer subs that they provide.
Taco Bell, absolutely.
McDonald's is so much better.
Taco Bell has to be. I've eaten too much McDonald's since it's right down the street.
McDonald's. I like the Oreo McFlurries.
I'm gonna choose Taco Bell because it gives me less stomach problems than McDonald's does.
McDonald's all the way.
There's levels to this, and Taco Bell is at the top one.
Sheets guy all the way.
I actually don't know what Wawa is, but Sheets.
I gotta say Wawa. I grew up with Wawa, and I just think the food's better.
Sheets is the best thing to grace our planet.
I'd have to go with Sheets.
Definitely rough.
Injustice, no J-Naps.
Hydron, probably.
Probably T-Crow.
Either Skippy or T-Crow.
Croc.
Pokemon Red for the Game Boy Color.
Webkins. That was the first video game I've ever played, Webkins. Oh my god.
League of Legends. Sadly, that was the first game. That's one of the only games that I played. I just enjoy it so much.
Mario Kart 7 on the DS.
No bully.
Probably PGE.
Some of the top now.
Definitely PGE.
Angry Ginge or somebody in that realm, like Speed and stuff, they're pretty funny.
Probably my dorm.
Definitely Birchie.
I think the pond is one of the greatest schools you can buy.
The library, it just got renovated, much nicer, much quieter.
Definitely my room.
Probably the IT area in the library.
Yes, I love snowboarding. I've been snowboarding my whole life.
Are you a snow person?
Not really. No, I don't really like the cold a whole lot.
I prefer summer.
Only for playing Snow Day in Rocket League.
No. Yeah, I love snow.
Oh yeah, I mean I'm from upstate New York.
I love snow. I think it's so fun.
I think I would play, I don't even know. That's the only game that I play.
Probably competitive TF2.
Probably Rivals, yeah.
I'd probably just play Trackmania.
I think the culture at Smash is insane. I would love to play Smash.
I'd probably play Madden.
Gotta be Mount Aloysius College. You can't beat them.
Mounties, obviously.
Mount Aloysius, of course.
Oh my gosh, this isn't the question. Mountie Esports.
I mean, gotta be the Mounties, right? The culture here is unmatched.
The Mount Aloysius esports program.
Obviously, Mount Aloysius.
You're looking at it.
Gotta be the Mounties Esports.
Cool.
You have more important things in life to think about than your internet. At BreezeLine, we propel life forward with home internet so reliable, you don't have to think about it. With a team that goes above and beyond. Fiber-powered speeds up to 1 gig. And 99.9% reliability.
And we're back for another week, another Overwatch action coming your way for PIEA week number 6. So excited to see these two teams come back as well. Spring Grove versus Forest Hills in this first to 2 best of 3 series. Very excited to once again be casting with you, Ari, and we're gonna be covering not just 1 but 2 series on the stream today. Can't wait to see exactly how things are gonna fall for both of these teams here.
Yeah, we're actually going to be kind of division hopping, I believe is what it's called. We have one that is Division 1, that'll be this matchup right now, and then we'll move to Division 2 a little bit later, so you kind of get 2 different aspects of gameplay, and potentially, I mean, I don't want to tell you the teams after, but another banger matchup after this one. But let's focus on in, of course, we've got 2 teams still fighting to get that seeding locked up, the playoff spots secured, and well, that's how it goes, right? You're at that part in the season where every single map, every single win will matter tremendously.
Oh, 100%. You want to be able to make it out to the LAN event happening in December. I believe December 20th is when it's happening for all of the games. Having their championships being played in person is such a different vibe. So as you mentioned, everything matters from here on out. Lijiang Tower is our first, I lied to you, Oasis is our first map of the day here for Control. I love Oasis. I think it offers so much flexibility and versatility for our two teams to utilize in their favor and really showcase to us, the casters, and also the viewers, what they can bring to the table across all of the submaps.
Yeah, I'm just looking through the standings right now. I'm seeing Forest Hills at 7th right now at 1-1, and then Spring Grove at 1-3, but at 10. So they still have the same amount of points, if you will, but one record technically better than the other. So Forest Hills with the upper hand if you're going based off of statistics in this one. But of course, we know that anybody can show up to the field and play the absolute game of their lives. History could be made here, and a highlight reel, a worthy play, certainly possible here in this one. Let's take it away. Map 1 on Oasis. Going to you right now.
I do think that we have some very interesting compositions here. The Brawl is very clear with the Orisa and the Ramatra both coming out these spawn rooms with extreme aggression, especially coming in from Wiggly Monkey, really just kind of putting in that force and forcing out Toasty Boy off of this high ground. Bloodhound on this Mei gets rid of the Torbjorn. Again, interesting character, the Torbjorn turret, but I love rotation coming in from Spring Grove as they're already walking onto the objective, and moreover, Forest Hills actually kind of just give it up, allowing Spring Grove to just kind of take over the point. Toasty Boy takes care of a very, very aggressive Zenyatta, giving Spring Grove a little bit of 45 they had to play around with, and now being out-angled again by this Reaper.
Yeah, you can tell Toasty Boy is really just going to be let off their reins, hopefully do as much work as they possibly can, and this should be enough. Yeah, Forest Hills are going to be able to flip this point here because of how much work was done by the Reaper player, and even though you would say, look at their ult percentage, it's only 50% compared to Bloodhound's 91, well, that's your spearhead into the first fight. Now that you have that offensive positioning, now you can take Bloodhound's ult and use it however much you want to cycle those ultimates and give you that percentage for as long as possible. They want to not let this flip a single time if they can help it. And so this, by that strategy being implemented, is going to be how they get it to work.
And that's what you're seeing Osiris walk in, start this fight off very aggressively with the configuration, articulated configuration, right? Which also takes care of just the immortality field from CC Myers, who is running the Baptiste with the Kiriko, a double flex support backline. A little more rare to see. The Zard comes out, is walled off, but no bubbles means no problem for CC Myers to assist in that elimination. But even without a tank, Spring Grove are a-okay with kind of defaulting over to the Bastion and the Torbjorn to take up that quote-unquote tank role and take care of the rest of the team while Spring Grove wait for Wiggly Monkey to come back from the spawn room.
This is really interesting. I honestly, expect these points to kind of go 100-0 just based off the fact that usually one team is more comfortable on a specific map than, say, others, but look at this. I mean, back and forth, fights being exchanged, right? Toasty Boy doing work in every single one, but you're also seeing Spring Grove just making something out of nothing whenever they need to. Death Blossom could be used here, but no, just going to back out after one. The smart decision, if you will.
Oh yeah, Toasty Boy went in for the elimination onto Osiris, almost an assassination attempt, if you will, and backs out immediately after. The Blizzard comes through, the Zenyatta Transcendence, a appropriate response to not only that, but also the window happening in the back area. What we don't have, unfortunately, is a response to this upcoming Blossom, which I don't even think Toasty Boy needs to expend quite yet, as it is going to be Forest Hills once again taking out the backline of Jintoki, which again takes care of that rally from even being a factor in the engagement. X-Scheme comes through with the Molten Core and kind of runs away from Toasty Boy.
Insert Benny Hill theme. The music just playing. Okay, anyway. But yeah, I mean, the chasing aside, this is going to be a nice big engage from the Vegeta ultimate, but again, you have to have that team follow up with you. Toasty Boy, no, walled up by their own Mei. It's disaster. And Spring Grove might just take this one. Look at how they're funneling everybody in the small corridor. It is a death escapade for all of them.
It sure is. I mean, the wall, as you mentioned, was so unfortunate. Toasty Boy just couldn't get out for nothing. And suddenly, Ari, we're in almost last fight territory. It's 80% to 78%. Not too shabby. We're working with 3 really good ultimates of Forest Hills. We just gotta wait for our wrist to come back. And there she is with the wall off, separating that tank from the DPS lineup here. The Death Blossom goes crazy, but that beautiful cover helps even a little bit, but not for very long. The follow-up is easy for Toasty Boy to come through with, and we get the flip right before overtime. That's big for Forest Hills.
That because we're seeing so many flips, right, you could say, oh, okay, well, these teams are just really good at taking the points back, but I'm going to honestly say that these teams are having a little bit of trouble getting themselves defensively set when they have that point control. They're always letting the enemy take the initiative onto them, and that means you're down cooldowns, you're not getting those things forced out. But look at this big grab!
Big grab, but no bodies to follow up with Wiggly Monkey. The Blizzard was so good from Bloodhound, even more so. Spring Grove having used the Bastion ultimate and the grab, but not together because, again, Forest Hills really just took down that back line one at a time, and Spring Grove at that point had nothing to follow up that grab with. It's just so unfortunate because they're so even. They're so good at going back and forth with Forest Hills that, you know, we go over to City Center, and this could be something a little bit more different for Spring Grove. Maybe a different environment all around might help them get this back to a one-to-one scenario.
I'm just worried about the fact that with that high ground now being in the case, you can have another angle for this Reaper who's been a nuisance to just keep on teleporting into the high ground, jump down on you in the back line, corners to duck around, and it really just is a whole sequence that Forest Hills seems like have set up for them, right? They have a clear game plan, but it's about how can Spring Grove combat that? What are they going to do now that they've learned what that game plan is from the other side? What can they do to throw a wrench in the plans of that Forest Hills who is up 1-0?
100%. And it's going to be actually taking care of the Torbjorn turret early on, making sure we keep this an even 5v5 situation. No extra damage output, no extra turrets, nothing like that. Again, Toasty Boy really going in and then baiting out some resources like the Bastion turret form early on and then backing out, allowing Flightless to take charge again in that front line. Inferior comes over onto the Lucio. So there's a Lucio and Brigitte backline working for Spring Grove. You lose out on Osiris, however, healing output not going to be insane, but they have the speed, they have the shield to work with. The wall off, I mean, in this small quarter space, that's just the best way to get rid of a target like a Zarya before she gets too big for her britches. Beautifully well done from Forest Hills as they take the point first.
Yeah, that was absolutely phenomenal. I mean, Bloodhound, obviously, the great wall there. Even the good tracking from Flightless to make sure that that is a lot of damage output quickly. Toasty Boy doing what they need to do, providing that off-angle pressure. And, right, the supports, we haven't really needed them to kind of do anything crazy, but they're just feeding, you know, the heals to the players who need it. They're using their cooldowns correctly, and it's when you see those blunders, when then you start to realize the backline, okay, maybe needs additional help or needs to step up a little bit, but they're doing great, right? Nothing that needs to be forced out of them. That's because Spring Grove really haven't had that offensive pressure that we want them to do, taking initiative into these early fights. It's going to be tough to break past the Sarissa, by the way, with the Reinhardt, but they're going to have to find some way.
And they have a Sunbear to work with if they want to go something really aggressive. They're going to completely wrap around away from that, from the Amplification Matrix coming through from Forest Hills. Waiting it out might be the best option, but here's a big Blizzard. The Sound Barrier comes at the very tail end of the Blizzard, but it's going to be Toasty Boy sliding in with a 3K of the Death Blossom. Really great combination with Bloodhound's Blizzard there.
That's just nuts. I mean, the fact that the Blizzard comes out first, right, gets all four, that's kind of crazy. And then the beat, Inferior, right, has the right decision, goes for it, but all of those players just get shredded instantly. And that's because the Death Blossom realizing that an ult for ult, a team fight win that you're going to get for yourselves, pretty dang good. Big shatter onto a wall, though, and unfortunately, that means everybody else will have to back on up as now you're removed, so is your Brigitte. And this is what we thought was a lost fight, but there's a Molten Core that actually is making this one doable.
Not only the Molten Core, but also the Bastion articulation or configuration coming through as well. And of all things, to get the win here, to find the flip for Spring Grove, it was the Molten Core. Really funneling around that entryway that Forest Hills couldn't use again to retreat, or they would be taking 110, 115 damage per second, which is why everyone kind of just fell right on over. Spring Grove off of the Zarya, they're off of the Reinhardt, now going over to the Wrecking Ball here for their last hurrah against Forest Hills Terra Surge.
I'm just worried about that CC. I mean, the Javelin Spear really is good for just displacing that ball wherever they see fit. Now, this is a little bit of an off angle that they are trying to take, maybe just posturing up for when this fight does start to go towards the Spring Grove side and when the ball is back to support the rest of the team. But again, how do you make your way in here? Orissa's not exactly the most aggressive tank to run it down on, but still, with that Terra Surge, maybe going to combine this with the Blizzard, making a whole bunch of work, but it's the window, the Amplification Matrix, met by the beat from the Lucio. Everyone's popping their ults. Welcome to Overwatch, folks. This is exactly what you expect to see.
And it's not going to work for Forest Hills. They're not going to be able to outpower not just the sound barrier, but also that layered rally from Jintoki as well. Spring Grove somehow, some way found the win here. They're at 65%, and mind you, in that first fight, Wiggly Monkey took care of Toasty Boy early with the power driver. That was a big boon that Bane that Forest Hills did not want to take in that fight there. So with that being said, 75%, a quarter of the point needed for completion for Spring Grove. Not only that, but also to bring us over to a round 3 of Oasis. They don't really have anything online for either team coming up on the Molten Core, which got so much value previously, but we lose Inferior in the first couple of seconds of the fight, opening up 90% to 95%. They need to find a trade-off. It's going to come in the way of Toasty Boy, and there's 3 ultimates, but one is not going to be used. The Molten Core has been taken out of the engagement, and it all comes down to Wiggly Monkey. Can we stay alive with this minefield?
It's going to be close. I mean, you saw the idea there for the wall, kind of actually forcing them in the correct direction away from the mines. Very nicely done, but Wiggly Monkey is going to be a tough player to remove from this. It's just, how long can you stall enough for your damage players, your support ultimates to get back, and Inferior goes down again. It doesn't matter that you're made of speed. If you go on down, you don't have enough HP, your chances of winning this are going to be a lot tougher. Bloodhound on an absolute tear, by the way. 2 kills in the prior, 2 kills in now. The Blizzard on out, and this should be all she wrote, especially with that flip coming through. The Death Blossom to boot. This is all but over. Forest Hills take the first map in 2-0 fashion.
And it's so unfortunate because going into that last fight before Inferior was taken out, Spring Grove had 3 lined up beautifully. They had the Molten Core, they had the Bastion ult as well. They also had Minefield, which of course we saw that get used eventually in that last fight. But the other 2 defense ultimates just came out a tad, this is crazy, a tad bit too late. And then at that point, Forest was able to not only fit the point, but also stall the fight long enough to gather that Blossom. And I mean, when you have a Blossom, you don't have a barrier for it, you don't have anything to negate it, it kind of becomes a big fight win there for Toasty Boy alongside Forest Hills in general. So very well done from Forest Hills on that Oasis point. 2-0 is nothing to scoff at all.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that second fight, it did feel a little bit more dominant towards the Forest Hills side, but at the same time, right, you had Spring Grove bring it back, you had them go blow for blow on that first sub-map, and so you start to wonder, okay, was it just Forest Hills just ramping up, or was that a little bit of a fluke for Spring Grove in the end? Honestly, I don't know which one to go with either, because it truly does feel like these teams, when they do step it up, when they have those heroes, or they just play as a cohesive unit, you're gonna see them succeed. And so going into these next maps, which, you know, we can assume whatever it is, but game mode-wise, I'm gonna just hypothetically say it's Flashpoint, right? This is still a very back-and-forth thing that if it was Flashpoint, I could see this going 3-2, 3-1. I don't think we're going to see a clean sweep or a full hold if it's some sort of, you know, payload mode.
I had to agree with you. These guys are very evenly matched in terms of skill expression, mechanics, even just going for the rotations, compositions. They love playing Brawl, which we saw a little bit of, or a lot of on University. And then we saw a little bit of variation with that ball coming in from Spring Grove. So I think Spring Grove have, at least from what we can see, the upper hand in terms of flexibility with compositions. But what Forest Hills is able to use in response is a composition that works. Orisa, Reaper, Kiriko, characters that are so strong right here, right now, and they've been strong for multiple seasons, multiple years, in fact, and multiple metas they kind of outlived through or had a resurgence in. So it comes down to flexibility versus comfort, right? And I think that's so interesting to think about, especially just really basing it off of one map, 2 rounds of Oasis. And I do hope we go to a flashpoint. I do hope we go to something that can be so pull, tug, back and forth, tug here, tug there, because these guys, again, very even, could have genuinely gone either way on Oasis. Just need to be a little bit faster, I think, on ult usage maybe from Spring Grove and not holding on to him for as long as they possibly did. But otherwise, again, either way, both teams can definitely get the win today.
It's definitely a lot higher on that reactionary side for Spring Grove. They're not necessarily choosing to make those risks when they don't feel it is necessary. Now, instead of that flashpoint we kind of expected to see as we traditionally do for that second map, it is going to be Watchpoint Gibraltar. And honestly, this kind of worries me for the side of Forest Hills, because we saw the Wrecking Ball, which means they're not afraid to play some sort of divey brawly comp, right? They even had the Reinhardt, and if you want to make that work, you certainly can, although best of luck to you. I think that there are so many different ways to play this map, and again, you go back to that comfortability aspect. If you can prove that you know exactly how to play your comp, it may not matter what the other side is doing, unless, of course, you're going to, okay, this is high-level gameplay, both teams are just on an absolute tear, then maybe you start to see the more meta comp being the one that's having a little bit more success.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. The fact that Spring Grove were so open and also had success to an extent of playing that Wrecking Ball on Oasis means that I do really agree with the Gibraltar Watchpoint, I'll say. The Watchpoint Gibraltar map here, selection from Spring Grove. And I do really hope to see that come back, even more so some changes in terms of the DPS and backline compositions, right? A Brig and an Ana, a complete just like classic, and we saw Brig a lot coming in from Spring Grove, so I wouldn't be surprised if there was some flexibility coming in, especially with Inferior being the one who did kind of flex off of Zenyatta, went over to Lucio. Maybe see an Ana come out into the fray here for Spring Grove on the defense or attack side of things. Forest Hills, as you mentioned, like you could try to run Brawl here, you could try to mirror a dive as well, but either way, it comes down to how much cart progress can you get in that first part of the first round, even second round of into the spaceship area. Having a Tracer is gonna be impeccable, really good. Having some sort of a Genji, anything with that high movement would be so good to force that cart pressure and really force a reposition from your defenders as well. So as we load into Gibraltar, I'm really excited to see exactly what is brought to the table here. I'm thoroughly impressed with both of our teams today.
I'm just thinking about that Torbjorn specifically, right? Because it is sort of like the jack of all trades character where you could probably run it on both sides, and you know, the value may or may not be a little bit better on one side versus the other, but you can get away with things that maybe you normally wouldn't on that character because you have that additional damage output from the off angle or for whatever corner you're trying to take. And so Spring Grove here, right, hovering that Torbjorn again and currently locking it in right now, but I almost feel like this is the key character to look at, right? You could talk about Osiris on the Bastion, you know, cycling that turret configuration and making sure that, you know, pushing with the tank of the JQ and all that, but I'm thinking that this Torbjorn is going to be essentially having a 1 versus 1 with Toasty Boy and has to really minimize as much as possible that this Reaper can get away with.
Ooh, this is a very interesting setup we have going on for Forest Hills on this attack phase. Both teams are going for this Brawl, JQ Rush versus Orisa, more staple kind of Brawl, I would say, with that double immortality of the Kiriko and Baptiste, really honing in on the Orisa to stay alive. But they're going for a spawn hold here, Ari, and it's almost working out. They were able to shave off 20 seconds so far in the engagement, and they're continuously forcing out resources from our attackers, but finally, with that momentum really pushing in through, Quickly Monkey with a knife onto Flightless, takes care of the Orisa, and now as a unit, all 5 people from Spring Grove are walking on the opposition. Good wall comes through from Bloodhound, but for how long, as the objective has already pushed way past this halfway marker, and they're still getting a couple of, you know, picks here and there. CC Myers out of the engagement, so you only have the Kiriko going in as finally Flightless walk right back over to the objective and needs to hold true, especially in the face of this Bastion turret, which Osiris is definitely going to be able to use to take down the Orisa once again.
Turrets galore, the Bastion, and now the Torbjorn picking up too as well. This might just be a full first point cap, and honestly wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, everybody gonna fall like dominoes in the back. And so Spring Grove just walking on through, and I think Forest Hills need to realize, hey guys, if we're running the Orisa, if we're running a Mei, a Baptiste, a Kiriko, we have that strength at long range. Now, granted, are you going to face-to-face win against a Bastion? Probably not, but wait that out in the first place. You should be in a little bit better of a spot because the JQ can only do so much, doesn't have a shield to support the rest of their team or something like a defense matrix. Flightless, though, going down first yet again. It just feels like they're being under-supported or being in a too aggressive position, and even though this Blizzard comes out here, I mean, how much value can you really get? That's going to be the first one, okay? Had to wait for that final shot to come through. Maybe even a Death Blossom if we're feeling a bit too antsy, but this might just be a ploy to stall. No, yes, it is going to be a commit into it, and very nicely done by Toasty Boy. 3 to salvage the fight for Forest Hills.
And then, yeah, I feel like you had to at that point. You had to stop the momentum in some way, shape, or form. And that lamp being tossed from the Baptiste was so clutch because Toasty Boy procced that Death Blossom at maybe 20-25 HP, very easily susceptible to the Brigida Bash, to the Lucio Boop, to the Junker Queen Carnage. Any of those resources could have absolutely been the shutdown for that Blossom, but didn't happen this time. You run in for an aggressive Rampage, though, finds 3, and it's going to be enough in the face of a continued rush and the Suzu. A trade happens with the Kiriko and the Baptiste, or Baptiste, the Bastion, and there's the Terror to boot. Do we stay alive? Do we get out of it? We certainly do not.
Madness. The fact that Molten Core goes down as well, really nicely done to make sure that these players cannot escape. They have to walk in forward towards that JQ, and it looks really nice when they do get that value. Spring Grove on a tear right now when they are given the chance to. So what does that say? Forest Hills, they're the ones that are setting the pace. That means if you get a bit too aggressive and you get punished, well, Spring Grove will take you for a ride. But if you play, your A game, you stick to what your comp is strong for, you're going to be tearing them down just right back.
They certainly are, but the window comes out in this first initial corner, which is ideally a lot of places, a lot of times teams can't really hold this first corner reliably enough, but they're not allowing Spring Grove to get any free cart progression on the third point of Gibraltar. More so, taking care of that Bastion, gonna be really good, mitigating that frontline DPS pressure away from Spring Grove, but the Blizzard can also be layered over here. You can see Bloodhound is waiting and itching to just send it free. Snowball gets 3 people frozen into it, and the elimination comes through in the way of the back line, and of course, Wiggly Monkey. You can see Osiris, I think, waiting, trying to stay alive, and just kind of wait for the regroup here, while Easy Scheme needs to kind of back out as soon as humanly possible. Osiris forced to use that turret form, unfortunately, and Toasty Boy, you already know, looking for that Bastion and finds the kill.
Little silly towards the end there, jumping over towards the side. And Osiris, of course, falling on short. But now 3.5 minutes, though, is still a very tall task to hold on to, especially when you're talking about maybe a corner-by-corner game. I'm just worried about the fact that that second point was capped so quick that what are you going to do to, really hold on for the rest of this time? I mean, there's the Rampage that's going to be used here. It'll be good to find one, but now the rest of the players have to do the talking with their ultimates, and it's Toasty Boy yet again. Death Blossoms galore, and once again, a fight won by Forest Hills.
Absolutely. I mean, you can kind of see Toasty Boy was posturing on that objective on the card, very similar to what Bloodhound does when you want to use that Blizzard. They knew we were going to use that Blossom. I didn't care if you Rampage. I didn't care if you don't have anything, because guess what? I know you don't have a sound barrier. I know you're not gonna get rallied soon enough, so why not use it early on? Toasty Boy once again getting that opening pick onto Osiris, and now we're gonna layer the continued rush coming in from UBE comes through as well. From the back though, we're not watching this Torbjorn, who is gonna use the Molten Core right in that entryway, hoping for some toes to wander into lava, but it's not gonna happen this time, and ideally not gonna happen the next. Beautiful hold again from Forest Hills.
3 ultimates as well to work with, and you see that artillery configuration, it might be good for one, but no, just that additional damage, that pressure, which you'd almost hope to be capitalized off of in some way, shape, or form. Wiggly Monkey, though, going in for it, and, well, they don't get immediately punished, but that's going to be a force on back to the rest of their team. The Blizzard just destroys everybody, and they all fall down. I mean, it truly is that moment where you make that one mistake, Forest Hills will punish you, and the same can be said from Spring Grove. It's just that Forest Hills, well, they haven't made a mistake in those past 3 fights, and that's because they're cycling their ultimates so professionally and diligently.
They really are. And again, we started off with about 4.5 minutes, almost 5 minutes going into third point, and they've been able to hold these guys off until the last minute and a half to get ideally a full completion, or at least more than 20 meters of third point. The turret of all things gets the first elimination onto the Kiriko, and now we're gonna go in aggressively with this rally from Jintoki. But will it be enough? Is my only qualm, and thank you for the Cyrus coming through with that configuration with the turret form. We are able to walk with that rally. We're able to get our eliminations, and we're finally going to be able to turn this last corner of Gibraltar.
I mean, that's just so silly. The fact that you have a Torbjorn inserted in the back line just waiting for the right time to strike. Everyone was like, I thought I saw a Torb back there, but they look and they can't see through the walls, so instead that gets the first blood in the next round. I mean, truly is so silly, but so valuable in that particular term. That should have been a good boot, but oh no, is this just going to be Death Blossom from above? Well, it's going to have to be if they want to hang on to this point, but they're stagger touching just to make sure they can maximize the value. The wall drops, and so shall the Lucio, but now those numbers about even. Somebody's going to need to take initiative control here, and it is the Torbjorn for the moment. The ball staying alive, but who can flood on back to make sure the scales are fully tipped in their way?
It has to do with this. Artillery configuration does come in, make a lot of space happen, but the Blizzard, as always from Bloodhound, seems to come at the exact perfect moment. But the Molten Core, all of the objective, means that Bloodhound and company can't even walk out of the point. They can't rotate. They can't do anything here, Ari. And the best part about all this is they were able to at least secure a 6-second overtime here left in Gibraltar, giving them at least the opportunity to not be held to a draw or anything like that. This is so doable for Spring Grove. It's also doable for Forest Hills. Now you have them on the offense. Can they match that aggression of point A and point B? I mean, I've seen it. They got their act together in point 3, so I think they can absolutely do it. So Spring Grove needs to be really aware of how they're going to come out and tackle this defense.
I think the key fight here is the second fight, right? The first one's most likely going to be a feel out in terms of, okay, how do these comps smash against each other? How exactly do we approach this? And then they try something and it works horrendously. That's just how ranked usually goes. And so I assume this is how it's going to kind of trickle in here. But as soon as you get that first one done and over with, you say, oh, okay, we see what they're going for. Typically, the defense doesn't change up their strategy. And so because of that, you can find a way to where you can go for something new, whether it be a swap or just a particular pathing or something of that sort, and then you do manage to get that second fight space. And if they are successful, that is Forest Hills, I think we are going to see that OT. But if not, I'm going to say, bold prediction here, Spring Grove will take the map if Forest Hills do not win that second fight, assuming, of course, they are still on that first bet.
Yeah, for sure. And Toasty Boy is off of the Reaper for the first time so far in these 2 maps, deciding I can mirror this Bastion. I can do what Osiris is doing. I can put some pressure on that back line, force out those lamps, and force out all things like that. Osiris, unfortunately, left on that bridge for a little bit too long. Flightless takes care of the E64, and we're going to start walking right into the rest of the team here, trying to push the objective. I love the ball from Wiggly Monkey. I think it's going to be really good to continuously stop and halt the car, and just really a big nuisance to a team like Forest Hills. Otherwise, they can be very careful. They're pushing objective. They're in turret form once again. So everyone is trying to clear the area from this Bastion. The shield is broken. Inferior is trying to wall ride to safety and might be able to actually do so. Barely does Toasty Boy not find the elimination. Inferior is waiting on the high ground to stay alive and stabilize the team here.
No, that's actually a big grenade that tags up a few players that prevents them from actually walking forward in. Yeah, make sure you take down that turret. Yeah, you got that. And Toasty Boy, I mean, of course, right, they're trying to do as much as they can, but when you're getting shot by the turret in that moment, they actually pick up Osiris, and the rest of the team just kind of finding their ones, right? It's so just tempo-based, but they find a way to make things work. And Spring Grove, they bounce right back, and they slam right back, in fact. The Swiggly Monkey with 2, the Torbjorn as well. And now Forest Hills slowed to just a trickle.
And so unfortunate because Bloodhound had flicked the cooldown to use that self-freeze for half a second. Didn't really get any sort of healing output. So then that Power Driver alongside that, after they got out of the ice field, he got taken out so early and couldn't stabilize with the team fast enough to not allow Spring Grove to get that win there. But that being said, of course, the best way to kind of get the reversal is take care of the PIEA, take care of a backliner. The sound barrier gets forced out from the side of Spring Grove just to stabilize in the fight with a lack of a support. Well, as unfortunate though is Forest Hills, they lost not just the Baptiste, but also that Kiriko. So there's just no way they can survive this fight long enough to stabilize through it all. And with that being said, 4 minutes has now trickled down to a measly minute and 40 seconds.
I think that kind of goes with what I was saying on the prediction. I think they lost the second fight, so statistically, I mean, yeah, they could go for the ultimates and try and dump and see what they've got, but again, you've burned so much time at this point. Now you're essentially playing into Spring Grove's hands no matter what. If they burn the time, that's good for them. If they win a fight and stall you here, that's good for them. And if they pin your entire team with an artillery strike, that's also pretty dang good for them. So there's so many things that can go their way that you're almost just grasping at straws if you're Forest Hills.
Ooh, but Toasted Boy gets that limit shot onto Osiris, though, giving, again, a big advantage here for Forest Hills to walk on with 5 ultimates. One gonna be the continued rush, but right on the field is this Molten Core from the Torbjorn. Once again, finalizing this elimination, finalizing the fight, and making sure that Forest Hills do not stay any longer than welcomed.
I mean, as a Chem, shall we say, on the Torb, it's just been phenomenal, right? Again, we highlighted what the strengths of this character can be, and that is just doing literally anything they're asked for. Flightless, this is very aggressive. We know you're going in for a Terra Surge here, but like, how much are you really going to get away with? Well, I guess both supports, apparently. No, well, nope, I spoke too soon. Whoa! That's a whole lot of mines! What? What just happened? Quickly Monkey with 5 kills, picks up almost everyone. I mean, pure insanity. No, don't jump off the map. No, don't get, no,
Wiggly
don't
Monkey!
get stuck.
Wiggly
Okay,
Monkey!
we're good.
Okay.
We're good.
No, because you can't have a 4K like that, Ari, and then like die off the map. So I'm glad that Wiggly Monkey came back, and unfortunately, Bloodhound was forced to die really late, and now we're in overtime without our main, without this Blizzard, and you're not gonna be able to even see it come to fruition without every single person from Forest Hills no longer in the fight. And Bloodhound, a fruitless touch, does not come to fruition, and Spring Grove have brought us to a map number 3. Incredible play all around.
Honestly, wasn't sure which play of the game it would be. I mean, we had so many moments with the early Reaper, the Torbjorn, and then the mines in the end, but it is the Molten Core to strike through, and this was kind of that moment where you started to say, okay, at this point, you picked up a Molten Core 4K or something, and every attempt you've tried at to even get a little bit further forward has just been stalled. Spring Grove ran out of ideas, or excuse me, Forest Hills ran out of ideas, and so they kind of are now equal at this 1-all. If you're Forest Hills, though, I'm expecting to go right back to Flashpoint to continue what they were so strong at in the first place.
That's what I'm saying. I really do think these payload type maps they can either make you or break you. The tempo, the constant repositioning, everything like that really does put a hindrance on some teams that do better on your controls, on your flashpoints. And I do think that Forest Hills really showed out on Oasis with their composition, with the Orisa composition that really had little to no faults in it, really. Spring Grove were the ones that had to swap constantly to keep up with the opposition, but this time they played into what they were good at. They played into being able to retreat more safely. They played into being a ball composition, or playing a ball that can always stay alive, mitigate the card progression, things like that, have amazing minefields as well that really just, you fall right into it on Gibraltar. That's the big thing about Gibraltar, is that little hallway area and the underpass is so frustrating to try to squeeze your way through. So again, Flashpoint I think might be the name of the game here, and if I'm Forest Hills, I also fully expect to see the return of that Trigger Queen or that Wrecking Ball. Not not going to be a flashpoint, however, are going to go to push instead. And this does still fulfill what I think Forest Hills can showcase to us again.
Yeah, I mean, the general idea is that, okay, you just run down with your Orisa, you just absorb as much damage as possible while still staying alive, and you should be good. My only worry is that on a map like Runasapi, right, there's a lot of different lanes that this ball can work with, right? So if they do choose to go back to it, I have a feeling they might be in a world of hurt. And then something else of big note in that prior map is you saw the Reaper swap from Toasty off onto, what was it, the Bastion, there was a Soldier at the end, things like that. And so you start to wonder, what is it that made them swap in the first place? They felt so uncomfortable just not being able to maybe do enough or something. Was that the key swap that needed to be made? Was it a support that needed to CC a little bit more? Was it the Sombra that should have been in the case? Either way, that's something that has still been unanswered, and Spring Grove, until it has been answered, are going to continue to just keep on walking with this comp. Unless Forest Hills can truly show that they have a solution to the problem, they're going to keep on finding that problem just everywhere.
They absolutely are. It's just... And as you predicted, right, the ball is coming out from Wiggly Monkey so far. Same thing with that Torbjorn, things that have been working so favorably for Spring Grove consistently throughout Oasis into definitely Gibraltar, right? But Forest Hills have a couple of new tricks up their sleeve. We have Bloodhound no longer playing the Mei. We think we're going to need to go for the Soldier and have that nice CC with, of course, that area of effect. Of course, we also have the rail shot. We have the slide. We have opportunities to get out of dives from the ball. So I like the Sojourn swap here a lot. I also love the opening pick onto Osiris again on that Bastion. Get Toasty Boy following up onto Inferior. And I mean, the fight pretty much, Ari, I think you can tell, has really just finished itself as soon as it had started.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I don't know how it went so quick, so fast, but I guess if you're Forest Hills, you'll take it. I mean, this is a big old stall from Wiggly Monkey, but I mean, you take the first point in the sense of you can get the control of the bot first, and even though there's this ball, you know, stalling you away, preventing you from getting that charge, that's now a lot of percentage on your ultimates, like the application matrix, and there is a world where these players actually come back. These pile drives have been nuts, by the way. Just everybody's so grouped up. Spring Grove only give up 15 meters because that stall is so strong. Somebody needs to see this ball quickly and stat.
You know, the great part about it all is, maybe not for Forest Hills, but for Spring Grove, is that because that stall, because of the amount of resources you're pulling away from Forest Hills, Wiggly Monkey already has the minefield going into this next engagement, which is going to be so good on this specific corner of Runasapi, especially into the checkpoint. CC Mars on that end will have that implication matrix alongside Bloodhounds. Overclock is online, but we can't put over there because that minefield forces a full different rotation coming in from Forest Hills. The window does get pocked here, and we also see that Overclock layered on top of it. No longer using the window, just need to get some heads, clearing the board here for Forest Hills to retake the objective. It's going to be Wiggly Monkey again trying to stall once more. Will he get the same amount of, benefit, same amount of value as the first time? Possibly, but this time it feels like maybe we need to reset.
Well, this is exactly what we saw last time, except 3 players did not chase them. So, unfortunately, the skeet shooting game will be secured by Forest Hills as they tag down the 1 HP ball in the skies. Finally, says Toasty Boy, indeed. That's what it feels like for you. And again, we then say to Forest Hills, if that is how much trouble you're having to remove the ball one singular time, how are you going to replicate that when it matters a little bit more, when you need to reduce that ball to 0 HP in a matter of seconds? And I think that's the kind of idea that we have to look at going forward.
Oh no, Inferior using the sound barrier preemptively prior to that Terror Surge, basically depleting all of that overhealth that, you know, Inferior have for themselves, and suddenly you also layer on Toasty Boy's Death Blossom right over top that. And again, during that fight though, we will say, there is a little bit of a thief on the side of Spring Grove, taking the car away from the checkpoint, and more so, Wiggly Monkey gets out. So we have eliminated 4 spawns. We've also gotten our entire team back into the reset phase here of Runasapi.
Yeah, a little bit interesting to see Toasty Boy, you know, peeking into a room, and they're like, okay, maybe there's one player here, a ball. Nope, it's just the whole team. So instead, going to be posturing out, but going back around the reset into the rotate. All the way into their backline and picks up Osiris, who's in that ultimate configuration. That is a valuable first pick, but again, now what do you do with it? You're a close-range character with a big old bunch along sight lines. Spring Grove are just going to take out the players who you left behind stranded on your own team. That Reaper just went flying in the air. That was a Lucio boop combined with a ball boop, and somehow they're still getting to, but eventually get taken down. A bunch of shenanigans, but at the end of the day, Spring Grove still making this a blow-for-blow game.
And I could not have it any other way. Would not want it any other way either. Very evenly paced here. 5 minutes and 45 seconds left is left in the map here as well. 1-to-1 ultimates online. We have the continued rush alongside the DPS ultimate from Bloodhound and Toasty Boy about to come online as well. On that note, we have the rally at the very least and the Molten Core, which has gotten so much value throughout all the maps today. And looks like Spring Grove are going to actually respect Forest Hills on this sideline, at least for now. And that was a tricky one. The minefield comes through alongside, of course, that Dead Blossom. 2-for-1 trade-off in favor of Forest Hills, finally taking out the Kiriko as well during the continued rush. And it all comes down to, can we get rid of this Reaper at all? And it looks like Inferior cannot do so. It all comes down again to the Wrecking Ball here from Wiggly Monkey.
I don't know how they do it. I mean, it feels like at the end of the day, it's a 2 versus 1 in almost every scenario, right? You have Ezechem and you have a Wiggly Monkey for the side of Spring Grove, and then for Forest Hills, it's just Toasty Boy, and even Bloodhound, we could say, right, just doing as much value as they can. Flightless, it feels like, has been kind of negated to a point where it's, we know you're there, you're kind of annoying, but we're going to deal with you later because you're not as big of a threat to us as, say, those big old DPS that are shooting us with one-tap capabilities and things like that. I want to see better adaptations, maybe from Flightless, or just to use Flightless in a way that's going to benefit this Forest Hill side more.
Well, already Flightless is going to be the one to take the initiative, go over to the two DPS that are playing on the coastline here. Takes out Osiris, then comes over onto the Torbjorn as well. And finally, a good shutdown coming in from the Orisa. And Forest Hills does have the opportunity to start taking this objective back to that middle area, maybe even getting the forward spawn themselves. TC Myers, unfortunately, taken down by that power driver, which you had mentioned briefly, how impactful they have been so far against Forest Hills. But I mean, Spring Grove is walking in without the Wrecking Ball, without really too much. So I think here they're just trying to stall as much as humanly possible without using any of their own ultimates.
And even taking out their own. I mean, I guess you get more value than you bargained for, right? So they'll take it, and this should be a slowdown from the bot, right? And there's like a 10-second period where they have to kind of reset, get themselves ready for this next point. And Spring Grove can use that to reset themselves and then go for a hard engage here with all of these massive ultimates. Can be another minefield in the mix, and all these zoning ultimates are so powerful for Spring Grove because it feels like no matter what Forest Hills do, they're always running into something that's painful.
You can see Toasty Boy was trying to lock down on Inferior there, but then saw the minefield and said, oh, I gotta walk away. Then went to the right and immediately got pooped into another little mine and taking care of course, that Reaper in that moment. Wiggly Monkey has been really playing in his element on the Wrecking Ball since we had seen it on Gibraltar and even more so on Oasis second point. That being said, only 2 minutes and 45 seconds left and remain here. And we can try and call out also Bloodhound, who is a little bit overextended without anyone else to back him up.
You know, this gameplay by Wiggly Monkey right now is how my Wrecking Ball gameplay looks like in my dreams. That's the value that I hope to get, and it feels like I should get, but instead I have a pea shooter instead. Somehow, though, it's just so much damage output from the Spring Grove side, and that's gotta be due to this Torb, this Bastion. Everybody just holding their part, doing raw damage output. I mean, here, it felt like Forest Hills, even though they had almost everybody there and prepped for that fight, they just fell on over. And you have to start to wonder, okay, what are you going to do in these final 2 minutes to solve this problem? Because, again, we talked about it earlier. If you don't find that solution, you're going to be banging your head into a brick wall, and that brick wall is going to be bouncing you right back and then pile driving on you, stomping on you, minefielding, and everything.
Well, there's a power driver, 4% away to another minefield here. We have the Death Blossom coming into the back line, finds both Gintoki and Inferior in that moment. So backliners are no longer in the fray. Neither is the sound barrier from Imperial that had just gotten online at the same time. So you can see Spring Grove are skedaddling away to safety, trying to at least regroup without losing any other members. Wiggly Monkey more so using the minefield just to break off that that sightline area, that walkway around the coastline. But Toasty Boy is looking at this wrecking ball like white on rice. But thankfully, we retreat back to our team here, only needing to wait for Osiris to come back. The flanking Reaper comes through though. And the Wuyong also swapped off for Gintoki over to the Wuyong. And now Toasty Boy maybe got a little bit too overzealous in that fight.
Good use of the beat there by Inferior, realizing the support ultimates that could have been back in their favor, and this is actually completely negating that amplification matrix. Everybody's playing in front of it, meaning the projectile's not passing through it. And again, Spring Grove just keep on walking forward. They feel no resistance, even though the HP might start to dwindle. It does not matter as they pick up the eliminations time and time again, and eventually propel themselves to what basically is some sort of final fight.
Well, you have Toasty Boy going over to the Sombra, a classic last touch character, especially in the latter half of this minute left, right? The 30 seconds left, right? So that being said, Toasty Boy goes to the back line, finds the Wuyong early. Great, beautiful pick here. Toasty Boy gets shut down, whatever. That's still a good trade-off that you take if you are the side of Forest Hills. The minefield, yeah, it's great, it's on the objective, but no one has quite died to it yet. But you see the Baptiste gets booped right into the rolling barrel of this turret form from Osiris. And just like that, it is the end of the map here. It's Spring Grove taking the 2-1 after falling down in the first map, bringing it back on Gibraltar, bringing it all the way to completion on Runasafi, or at least very close to it, and they get the win at the end of the day. 2-1 is a fantastic job. But Forest Hills brought the punch. The play of the game went over to Bloodhound with this overclock, mirrored again with the amplification matrix, getting a couple of beautiful shots there, but was not going to be enough today.
Yeah, I mean, completing the reverse sweep, right? Even though it's a first to 2, you can still call it that because they came back from the brink of defeat, and it looks really, really good from them. I have to be curious about why they're only, what was it, 1-1 or 1-3? I couldn't remember which team was which, but yeah, they were the team that was 1-3 actually, Spring Grove. So the fact that they actually moved up to 2-3 now, they have that advantage going into these next few games, and again, that one is going to matter in those standings, could be the difference between them, you know, overtaking a team like Forest Hills, who now they have kind of that experience under their belt, so they can shove them aside. But again, just Spring Grove doing whatever they can to get the victory, and they seem really, really comfortable on that. I am worried, though, on their hero pool, on if somebody does find the solution against the ball, what they're going to have to rely on, because we saw the Zarya didn't work as well. The Reinhardt was, well, it was Reinhardt, and, you know, from there, it was history, but you go back to the Wrecking Ball, and that was nice. So it's like, okay, great, but be careful, because that future, although it looks bright, can be unkind. So take your laurels, rest on them today, but make sure to keep on practicing, as we know these teams certainly do and will.
Absolutely. That Wrecking Ball really was kind of the fix there for Spring Grove to take it back in Gibraltar and also subsequently on Runasapi. But we mentioned to you guys we have another series coming your way. We are not liars around these parts, so we're going to go to a very quick break, get our second match in their lobbies, getting themselves ready for week 6 of PIEA. See you guys in just a couple of minutes.